Hello and welcome to another Mole in the Morning in your gaming news. Today for the 28th of October 2022. My name is Karen Small and we are starting with one of the bigger news. I know this is not necessarily gaming, but a lot of people are doing the gaming stuff there. Well, I do. And that is Elon Musk has been buying Twitter. Finally, after all the bullshit he pulled, he finally pulled through together, and he is now the owner of Twitter. And he immediately to start to fire everyone left and right. Yep. Like basically every C position or important position just out of the window. The CEO, the trust and safety, and some other people have been already let go immediately. And he is now basically the only person in power. So two things will happen here. The one thing is nothing will happen. And everything will just continue as it did, or this is the beginning of the end of Twitter. And yeah, it's I will be honest, my from a purely business perspective, like pushing my personal thoughts aside here for a minute, from a purely business perspective, I do not trust Elon Musk. He is, again, one of those rich billionaires who was very lucky in his life. And he's coming up with a lot of crazy ideas, which sometimes work or might not work. But he's not a Mark Zuckerberg, or Zuckerberg, whatever you want to pronounce it. It's a German name, so deal with it. He's not as crazy as that dude. Like his ideas are somewhat there, but the problem is that, especially in the last few years, his ego took more and more over, even in his business decisions. Like, again, I'm completely ignoring like the personal shit he has been putting, which annoys me to death. Like, I'm thinking he's a psychopath, an egomaniac. And most people might argue that, yeah, that's what you have to be big in business, which in itself is already a red flag in my book, but okay. But here's the thing. It's this. He does not split his business decisions from his personal decisions as of late. And that is a red flag for me. That is a red flag for me. So we will see what happens next. And I will be honest, it would suck if I have to leave Twitter behind. Because Twitter has been pretty helpful for me on the business side. Reaching people, connecting with people, finding most of my like influence managers for video games over the years has been through Twitter. Like, at least having the first contact with like influence managers for games has been through Twitter. Absolutely. Like, from a purely business perspective, Twitter has been massive for me. So leaving Twitter behind from a personal, like, I will be honest here, folks, from a personal standpoint, I don't give two shits about Twitter. I never used Twitter in my life till I started to become a streamer 6 years ago. But before that, I didn't care for Twitter. I didn't saw a reason to ever go there. And if I wouldn't be a streamer, I still wouldn't be on Twitter. It's just, no thanks. It's a cesspool for most of the things. But again, from a purely business perspective, it's really helpful. It is really, really helpful. So we will have to see what happens now next. I assume the only thing which happens will be that Elon Musk will open up to free speech, as he calls it. God, such an American term. It's like only ever Americans I hear screaming about free speech. It's like fascinating. Whatever. Different topic. But he will probably open up the floodgates for all the bigotry and racists to come back so everyone can just say their bullshit. And I would just protect my feed even more by banning words, by blocking people. I have been keeping my feed pretty clean. Believe it or not, like for most of it, my Twitter feed has been pretty clean. There are some occasional there have been some some naked ladies sometimes showing up on my tweet, and some naked guys for whatever reason, and some other things where I'm like rolling my eyes, but I would say 95% of my Twitter feed is pretty clean. Is a pretty clean. So we will see what happens with this. Yep. We will see. I keep you posted. We will probably see the decline of the platform in the next few years. Or not. Speaking of the decline, let's talk about Call of Duty. See what I did there? Cool. As you might have noticed, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has been released, and it came a little bit with a shock for the players, at least if you were playing on PC and Xbox, because then you might have realized that you cannot deactivate the crossplay. Yep, PC players and Xbox players cannot deactivate the crossplay. Weirdly enough, PlayStation can. Yeah, PlayStation can just say, oh, I don't want to play with PC or Xbox or with both of them. No, thank you. I'm out of here. But Xbox and PC cannot, which is interesting. I assume this is a bug. I really, really hope this is a bug and not something Sony has been doing. And I know what you might think. Why would Sony do anything on this? What has Sony to do with this? Because Sony has been securing a lot of like exclusive perks for Call of Duty. This is, by the way, also the main reason why PlayStation is fighting so hard for making sure that the whole Activision Blizzard deal with Microsoft is not gonna happen, because they have been investing too much into Call of Duty, and Call of Duty is basically the golden cow for PlayStation at this point, right? Like, let me just give you an example here. And hey, Dragodine, good afternoon to you. How are you doing, man? This is just a wonderful example of this, right? Exclusive benefits for PlayStation players, Battle Pass bundle bonus, double XP points, combat packs, PlayStation Party bonus, extra loadouts, right? Like, Sony has been investing a lot in making those things a PlayStation exclusive, and this is why I say, who knows, maybe deactivating crossplay is another PlayStation exclusive benefit. Why would they do this? Well, because Xbox players in particular are already pretty much annoyed of playing against PC players. You know? So, who knows at this point? Like, especially with the last few months and even like years, Sony has been doing their Sony stuff. I wouldn't be surprised at all anymore, which really sucks. Like, Sony hasn't really wowed me in a positive term in the last few years, which again sucks. But let's talk about something positive here, shall we? Sega has been posting their lifetime sales for Sega IPs. Yep. A lot of the Sega IPs have now their lifetime sales, and let's have a look at those, shall we? So this is the lifetime sales. You can see it right here. Sonic is the highest one with 1.5 billion units sold over its lifetime. Number 2, far away from 1.5 billion, holy moly, is Total War. I will be honest, did not expect that. That Total War is actually doing this good. Yep. Like, that's pretty interesting. Number 3 is Puyo Puyo. If you're like, huh? Puyo Puyo is a bit like, I've never really played it, I've just seen it. It's a bit like a Tetris kind of thing, where you have to like also have like the colors and stuff. And yeah, Puyo Puyo has been around for ages, and it's pretty big, especially in Japan. The Football Manager has been going strong with 25 million units. Makes kind of sense, especially after I'm pretty sure that after EA announced that they're not doing a FIFA Football Manager anymore, Football Manager became really big because they just cannibalized the player base from EA. Like, the moment the FIFA product was not available anymore, everyone was flocking to Sega's Football Manager. Just as simple as that. Then number 5, I'm actually kind of surprised by this. Yakuza, or as it's called in Japan, Like a Dragon, right? This is also the name the series is now moving forward with, Like a Dragon, even here in the West, has achieved 19.8 million sales. And again, I have to admit, it's not that big. We have now how many Yakuza games? 8? 9? I think we have 9 or 10 in total. Like, That's not too crazy, all things considered. Which is kind of interesting because I think last week, I think we didn't have this as a news, but this is an interesting point to put this in. There was an interview with the studio head of Yakuza, and he was saying that Xbox Game Pass is the main reason that Yakuza became big here in the West. Like, he attributes Xbox Game Pass to the reason why it became big here in the West, which is kind of crazy because Yakuza was a PlayStation exclusive for many, 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 many years. And it's like, whoa, really? And they didn't manage to make it a thing here in the West? And then Xbox Game Pass is coming along and boom? Okay. Wow. That's kind of crazy. Then we have Virtua Fighter with 18.8 million. Shin Megami Tensei, which is like the offshot of Persona. Like, it's kind of weird how Shin Megami Tensei and Persona are like kind of the same universe with kind of the same gameplay, but not the same thing. It's a bit weird. Phantasy Star has 9.8 and Hatsune Miku has 18.5, which I would have expected more because Hatsune Miku was, well, it was mostly a big deal in Japan. I just remember that. Yeah. But that's pretty good for Sega. Still not as... I'm actually really surprised by Total War. I wouldn't have expected that Total War is that big of a deal. Then again, I see the player numbers playing Total War, and I'm like, yeah, that makes kind of sense. Yeah, so good for them. Next news. Oh, this is an update which has been going on. This is an update on the news we had months ago, actually. I think it started in May or something. This is interesting. This is about Myth of Empires. You know, the survival game which came out on Steam, and then it was basically taken down because of DMCA claims, and the creators of Ark were saying that, hey, like, this studio just ripped off a huge part of our code because people have also been working at our studios for years, and then when they left, they did steal like big parts of our code, started their own company, and integrated the code into their game, right? This was going on for quite some time. Myth of Empires Angela game has been saying that no, that's not true. This is our own thing, and how dare you to say that? How dare you to like put this on us? Like, no, you're just jealous, right? You're just jealous that we might take away some players from you. So, this was going in front of a court, and the court was like, well, this is your word against their word. You know what we will do here? We will get an expert, and we will have an expert taking a look at this. And yes, they found it in Sightman Consulting, which is apparently an expert for code detection of plagiarism, right? They have been doing this for years, taking a look at code, at gaming code or computer codes in general, and they have been finding out if there have been plagiarism or not. Well, and it turns out that yes, They have apparently copied a substantial portion of Snail Games and Wildcard's copyrighted source code and tried to conceal its copying. Which is really interesting because not only that, but apparently Angela Games have been trying to sandbag this finding and that it will not be allowed in court. And, well, the reason for why this shouldn't be allowed in court is it proves that we are guilty. Stop looking at it. Again, this will, of course, not happen because the court ordered this this expert, right? Like it wasn't Snail Games who was like going to this expert and was going like, yeah, please find something for us here. It was the court who said, we need an expert on this. A neutral party who looks at the code. You are the neutral party. Tell us what you found. And the neutral party said, yes, this is stolen. So that will probably mean that Myth of Empires is dead. This will not survive. Yep. That's it. Oh yeah, also side note, when we are talking about this, the company Angela Game has also lost their lawyer because apparently they were not able to pay the lawyer anymore. This is the end of the company. Like if you cannot pay your lawyer anymore, and like a neutral expert very much says like, yeah, this code is stolen, this is the end of the game in the company. Like, yeah. Like, let's be real here. Copying ideas from other video games have been a thing in the gaming industry for decades and will always be a thing, hopefully, because it really pushes innovation. And so taking ideas of other companies is more than normal, right? But copying the code? Like, that's something else. Yep. Yep, like that is... Oh yeah, it definitely happens. Like it's... yeah. Yeah, definitely. But... yeah, if you were getting caught, you were in trouble with that. That is still a no-no in the industry. Just to put that out there. Oh, let's speak about another no-no and screw-up. Yay! Let's talk about Gotham Knights. Yes, I know we just talked about Gotham Knights a few minutes ago, but there is actually a news here when it comes to Gotham Knights, and not just my personal opinions. So, as you know, Gotham Knights had multiple performance issues, especially on the PC, and they are slowly trying to fix it, even though it is questionable if they can ever fully fix it, as it was discussed like with multiple tech YouTube channels who took a deeper look at the game and so on and so forth. But they released a patch yesterday, and people realized very quickly, hey, wait a second. They removed Denuvo. And if you're like Denuvo, Denuvo is an anti-piracy protection so that people do not pirate the game. It's pretty effective, and it takes quite a while till it gets cracked, like sometimes months or even years, depending on. But it has a lot of downsides. It can be very hardware hungry if it's not done right, and the developer has to put it in. Like the creators of Denuvo basically just sell you the software, and then the developer has to take care of it. If the online servers who are checking if you will have like a rightful copy of the game are being shut down at some point, you are screwed. And also, like, here's the biggest point, which, and this is the reason why I will go on a rant here a little bit, is there is no piracy issues in video games. We have studies on this, official studies, like by the European Union, which they, by the way, did hide for a few years because the study was telling everyone there is no piracy issue. In fact, piracy is actually boosting the sales of video games because a lot of people are using it as a demo, right? Like, we know that piracy is not a problem, but Denuvo makes it look like it's a problem. They're lying. They're absolutely lying here. And they sell a product through it. They're basically the snake oil sellers of the video game industry. And they're making millions of dollars every year through that, because there are some executives who have absolutely no clue about video games, but they hear piracy and go, no, my money! And so they are spending millions on getting a Denuvo license instead of using it for the game. And I will be honest here, instead of giving that money to Denuvo, they should have probably just used it to make Gotham Knights a better game. Let's be honest here. So they removed Denuvo. And people were like, hey, wait a second, what? Why would you... But the game just came out last week. Why would you remove Denuvo from the game? That's odd. Well, two things happened. First, there were quite a bit of people who now said, hey, you removed Denuvo. Well, now we'll buy your video game. Believe it or not, there's actually quite a bit of people who do not buy a game when it has Denuvo. For so many reasons why. I guess I already stated. And the second was, of course, the game was pirated immediately and ended up on the internet. Right. But again, piracy is not really a big issue. And you would say, okay, well, then they removed it for whatever reason. Maybe they saw there is no reason to do it. Like a lot of, it's kind of hilarious. Like another reason why studios are also putting Denuvo on the game is because they want to protect their initial sales, and they kind of want to push people who might be on the fence of buying the game into the direction of buying the game. But I think the reality is more, most people would just not buy the game. Like, I'm in that court, right? Like, I looked at the game. I have so many other games I can just play right now. And I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm moving on from it. I will give it like another half a year or so, or maybe even a year, before I will check it out when it ends up on Game Pass or something. Now I could play it because, well, I could pirate it, but I still have no interest in doing that. I have no interest in doing that because, as I said, too many other games I want to play, and the game is in a not so great state right now. So I'm just moving on from it, and a lot of people are doing that as well. So it was a little bit weird that they removed Denuvo, and 20 hours later, they released another patch. It wasn't really a patch. They released Denuvo again on the game. Wait, what? They brought Denuvo back? Yeah, the game has now Denuvo again. Why? Well, that's a very good question. Um, like, a lot of people assume from what we have seen, somebody has forgotten to put the Denuvo checkmark at the end of the patch, right? Because apparently you have to do this with every patch. Like, you have to put in like a checkmark of put Denuvo there, right? They have maybe forgotten it. But even then, and this is the weird part, the damage is done. The damage is done. The not Denuvo version of Arkham Knights is all over the internet if people are interested. So to bring back Denuvo right now is a bit like, why? It makes no sense to me, because even if you think like, yeah, they do this because they want to make sure that people, if they want to get the newest patches which make the game playable, then you have to buy the game, right? Because Denuvo is now in effect, and you cannot just patch your non-Denuvo version. You cannot do that, because then there's Denuvo on the game again. But here's the thing. That thinking doesn't make any sense, because you know what most people would do when they are now pirating the game? Check it out, see that it runs like shit, and it needs like another half a year of patches. They would deinstall the game, never look back at it, and play something else. Like, if you are so desperate that you need patches for your games and you really, really want to play this game, then you have probably already bought this game. Like, again, the more you're thinking about, like, does Denuvo make any sense on video games, the more you come to the conclusion, no, it doesn't. But this is just a big screw up by Warner Brothers. And good. I think, yeah, that's good. Like, again, Denuvo is a shit show. It doesn't deserve the recognition it sometimes gets. And thankfully, most developers moved on from Denuvo. There is not a lot of developers left who are still utilizing Denuvo. I think it's Square Enix, Sega, Capcom. By the way, if you were realizing, wait a second, that is all like Japanese publishers. Yeah, it is. Because we already talked about this multiple times. Japan has like gets anxiety the moment you are just muttering the word piracy. Warner Brothers is definitely using it. Frontier is using it, unfortunately, which really sucks. But I think that's it. I think it's those are like the 5 big studios who are left with using Denuvo, if I'm not mistaken. Like, nobody else is using it. Yeah. Bethesda has been using it in the past, but they also moved away from it. So they are not doing that anymore, since they are owned by Microsoft. Because Microsoft doesn't see the need in it. I mean, all their games are available day one on Game Pass, so if you really want to play a game, there you go. Yeah, I think those are the last 5 who are still using Denuvo, unfortunately. And I hope after some time that will disappear as well. Like, again, I have that company can die, in my opinion. It's a leech and not adding anything. All right, but with that said, folks, I think we are done with the gaming news. Let me just check super quickly here. Yep, we are done with the gaming news. There's nothing else going on. Of course, I will keep you posted, and the next gaming news will come up on Monday. And yeah, I hope I see you then. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe and check out the main channel, which you will find the link in the video description, which is youtube.com/@chaosmole. And we are streaming here from Monday to Friday, starting at 8 a.m. East Coast time, which is 1 p.m. UK time and 2 p.m. Central European time. With that said, we are out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Till then, have a good one.